Okay. All right, everyone. Welcome to this session on how to write a catchy press release. I am Omar Jarju. Actually, most people call me OJ. I'm from the Gambia, and currently I'm serving as the International Commissioner for the Gambia Scout Association. And right now, I'm in Korea. So we are organizing the event, the World Scout event that is coming in August. So I think today we will be able to learn how to write the press release and then maybe grab the attention and generate the buzz that we need. So if this is something that everyone want to anyone in this channel want to learn, then you are the right place, because we are going to share some interesting key elements that are needed in writing the press release, and also we'll be sharing some tips here and there that we need to also consider when we are writing the press release. But first, I would like everyone here in the channel to maybe share, when we talk about when we say press release, what do you think? What comes to your mind? What is a press release in your own understanding? My mic is clear, correct? Just you may talk. So good. Yeah. Okay. So Julia can check the chat section. Okay. So we can look at the agendas for today. So first, the introduction has already been done. We'll be looking at the key elements of a press release, and then that will take us through to looking at the tips for writing a catchy press release. Then I will be in teams, maybe in groups, to have a discussion on how to write a press release. Maybe we can share ideas as to how it is done in your own country, because we believe that different countries also have different ways of doing press release. So we can be able to share that, and then we'll come back to the presentation room, and then give feedback, and then maybe share ideas again, and we can be able to conclude today. So next slide. So these are the key elements that we'll be looking at today. So this is what you need to know if you are to write a press release. First, we need to know, what the headline is, and then the sub-headline, the introduction, and the body, the quotes, and we also have the boilerplate and also the contacts. But all these, we'll look at them in the next slides, as we move forward. So I try to speak slow because I'm a fast speaker. So, so today I'm trying to speak slowly. So bear with me so that everyone can, get what I'm trying to communicate. So sometimes, it affects the way I speak. Yeah. So looking at the headline. So the headline is, the title, a press release that summarizes the main messages or the news that you are, you want to release or you are conveying out there. Because it's the most important part of a press release. This captures the attention of the reader. So it should be short. It doesn't have to be a long one, and then it also needs to be attention grabbing. So, and then convey the key message of the press release. So with this, if anyone, come across your press release and then they read the headline alone, that should be able to tell them something about the release that, they are about to read or they are about to, release. So with this, I came up with small examples. So with these examples, at the end of the day, we'll be able to put them together, and then we will see, that we have a press release that, we all, did together. So the first one is, so with this, I, when I was doing the presentation, so I want to make it something scouting, something that, relates to scouting. So I chose about a national scout camp. So the headline is about Scouts Unite for National Camp, a week of fun and also learning. So with this, anyone who is reading the or who comes across the press release will be able to know this is about Scouts, having a national scout camp, and then it will be fun, and also it will be they will learn something at the end of the particular camp. Okay. So next, the sub headline. So this most of the time, provides a brief summary of the story and complements the headline, but not everyone practices it. There are some people who don't use sub headlines at all, but it is normal if you are not a fan of using sub headlines. But if it is something that you fancy doing, I think it's also something that complements the headline. So with this, I say like example, you can say join us for a week-long camp filled with adventures, education, and also friendship. So this complements. So if what the people didn't understand what the headline is all about, this gives them an opportunity to understand, more about, the press release. Yeah, Julia, we go to the next slide. That's the deadline. So the deadline is very important when it comes to, writing a press release, because people need to know, where and when this particular, activity is going to happen, which is the National Scout Camp. So this includes the dates and the location of the, event that we are trying to release out there. So the deadline includes the date, location, so and also the location of the activity that we have. So this is important for the journalist because it will determine the timelines and the relevance of the information that is being put out there. Next slide. The introduction. So the first paragraph should include the most important details, including, who is this particular information for, what we're going to do there, where it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, why we're doing it, and how this we are going to implement all the programs that we have, or during the event. Yeah. So in a nutshell, the introduction, yeah, we can go back. In the introduction should provide a brief summary of the message of the press release. So and then entice the reader to continue reading. Because once you provide all this information that is needed, which is the who, the what, the where, the when, and how, then it will entice the reader the more to be able to continue reading your press release. So with this, I came up with the example of the Scout Association is proud to announce its annual week-long camping event for scouts of all ages. So this year's camp will be held at the venue from April or the May 1st or 7th, and promises to be a week of adventures, learning, and friendship. Next slide. The body. So this would elaborate on the event activities and then provide additional context and details, such as the activities that are being done. So the workshops, probably the guest speakers, who are coming, or maybe the trainers, that also the plan for the event. So we look at the body or the press release to provide more details, information about the key messages, including any relevant details or statistics. It should be written in a clear, concise, and also an engaging style, so that people will get the message clearly. Yep. Next, Julia. The quotes. So quotes is an important element of a press release. So whenever you are doing a press release, including quotes from relevant people, or maybe people, in this case, a scenario where we are doing a press release for a National Scout camp, it will be important that we have it maybe from the chief commissioner, or maybe the chief scout, or any other person who is serving in a position that is influential, to be able to give us something. Maybe you take a quote from that particular person and then be able to share, so that can inspire others. So this can be even from previous participants of your previous national camps, or maybe just speakers, and then to add credibility and then perspective to your press release. So this is very important, because this will satisfy your customers, or maybe your audience, and then to be able to have interest in the press release. So I put in an example, like we are excited to welcome scouts from all over the country. So this year's camp, and offer them the opportunity to connect with nature, build leadership skills, and also make lifelong friendships. So this can be anyone. You can pick this thing from anyone. All right. So boilerplates, a brief description, of the, maybe the company that you are doing the press release for, or maybe the association or movement that you're doing for. So in this case, because we are using an association, because most of our members here on this platform, they are representative of NSOs. So it will be good that we take examples from our national level. So we in this level we're looking at national camp still. So we give an example here, which is Scouting is the leading youth movement dedicated to empowering young people through outdoor activities, leadership, development, and also community service. So this is good because what this one is trying to do is more of make the people or the reader or understand what scouting is all about. The organizers of the event, what do they do? So this kind of strengthen also your profile, that people know that this is what you are doing. Next. So the contact is more of like call to action. So this encourages the reader to take action, whether it's visiting a particular website that you have, or probably maybe you have a registration link that you want people to register when if they are interested to join the National Scout Camp, they can sign up through that to the event. And you can also put in contact details so that people will be able to contact you, and then they can get whatever information that they need about that particular activity, or in this case the national camp that we are organizing. And we are trying to ensure that people out there know about it, and then they can be able to come and then attend. Next. Okay, so this is also an important part of the press release, so having an end, because in some cases, you can, when you send out a press release, especially to the journalists, they need to know whether they have full content of the release. So this shows that okay, yeah. So people have 2 minutes for doing it. Okay, the first one, we have 3 hashtags. People use it a lot. And you can see in some countries they will have like end release. So with this, whenever a journalist or media person sees it, we realize, we'll know actually that this is the end of the release. So I have all the contents that I needed for the from this particular release. All right. So with all these examples, so I try to compile them together in the next one. So example press release for National Scout Camp, so that together we'll be able to see how this work. And the other thing also, yeah, Billy, you can go to the next slide. Yeah. So the other thing, a press release doesn't have to be a 2 pages or 3 pages document. No, all you need, you can have a one page document, and then you have everything communicated to people out there, and then they can include everything that you need for people to know about your event, or maybe a product that you are marketing, or you are launching a new product. You can be able to do this with only 1 page. You don't need 2 or 3 pages for you to be able to shell out this idea. So putting everything together from what we have, because we have the address, we have or immediate release that the caption that you can share up. So some, when they are doing their press release, they have to have their logo, and then they have also their letterhead also attached to it, that you can also do. Then that's important. Then you have what you need. First, you have the headline. So we have the Scouts Unite for National Camp, a week of fun and learning, and then the subline, which not mostly used by some people, but still here. So in case if you use it, you understand that it can be used, but not compulsory. So we have the city, that is the location, because looking at the Dateline here, we have the city, we have the states, that's the event is happening, we know the month and the date and the year. So, and then the National Scout Association is proud to announce its annual week-long camping event for scouts or of all ages. So this camp will be held at a campground of X from this date, a particular date, and promises to be a week of adventure, learning, and also friendship. So here we are able to have also the body, and then we have stars from all over the country are invited to join the national camp for a week of fun, learning in the great outdoors. Camp will feature a range of activities, including hiking, swimming, canoeing, archery, and more. The scouts will also have the opportunity to participate in workshops on leadership, environmental education, and also community service. So here comes the quote. This also is something that we discussed previously, where we are excited to welcome scouts from all over the country to this year's camp and offer them the opportunity to connect with nature, build leadership skills, and make lifelong leaderships. Scout leaders from the National Scout Association. That's the quote. So the National Scout Association is a leading scout mission. So these are the boilerplate is also something that is very important that we need to also pay attention to when we are doing a press release. So the call to action, that's the contact information that will also give the readers the opportunity to be able to reach out to you in case they need more information from you. That's also something that we can look at the end. And then we have the hashtags that we have that shows that this is the end of the press release. I'm sorry about it. I speak very fast, so I try by all means to speak slowly, but sometimes I tend to forget. All right. So that's it for kind of like the elements of the press release, the key elements that are. So now after going through all this, we've seen the key elements of a press release. We can be able to go into breakout rooms and then discuss how this is done in your own country. Once we have that, we can come back and also look at some of the tips that we need to also consider when we are developing a press release. Julia?
I was going to ask you because I think we are 1, 2, 3, 4 attending. Do you think that it's worth it to do breakout rooms, or maybe we can stay all here?
Yeah, I think we can all be here. We can bump together. Yeah. So we can have maybe volunteers. Do we have any questions or maybe contributions already on the chat?
I think there's one in the chat from Aaron.
Yeah.
Hi, OJ, great presentation, which it was. Well done. Just wanted to ask, what's the ideal length of a press release?
Yeah. Okay, as I commented earlier on, you don't need a 2 pages, 3 pages length of a press release. All you need, you can have 1 page or maybe 1.5 page at most, depending on what the information you're trying to send there. Most people like to write a lot, so they find it very difficult to summarize. But I particularly, I don't think it's necessary to have a 2-page long press release. So if you can summarize down to 1 page, I think that will be great. Okay, there's another question. How to do distribution for a press release? Okay, okay, some already have people that they work with, media houses that they work with. In other countries, they have kind of like a union that you send something for, and then they send out to all the the media houses, and some they will do their press release and upload it on their own websites, and then people can pick it up from there. So countries differ in terms of how things are done, but it will be great that anyone who knows how you do it in your own country, you can share it with our colleagues here, so that we can go get an idea out of it.
There's one more question in the chat. If we need to publish the press release in different languages, should they be done in one document? And if yes, what should be the order?
Okay, so I've never done a press release in different languages. I always do it in one language. Yep, but I don't know. I've never done that one, so I don't want to give misleading information. Has anyone done that before? Yeah, okay.
I can volunteer unless someone else has done it before. I mean, I can just speak from my own experience with doing press releases. If they've been in multiple languages, we've previously it's always been together. But then because you're trying to make it as easy for people to access as possible. So I've had it by email and then by PDF separately. And then the dominant language would go first. If you're doing in one email, like say you don't have your list broken down by language, ideally you would. And then you would cater, the English email to the English speakers, and then say, for example, if it's in French, then the French email to the French speakers. But if you don't know and you're just blasting it out to everybody, then you'd have what you think would be the dominant language first and then the secondary language after that. But in those instances, because the emails tend to be very long, this point that OJ made about length, you've got to be wary of the fact that people don't tend to get to scroll and they tend to get a little bit bored. So if you're doing multiple languages, just be aware of the fact that people just tend to lose interest very quickly. And so condensing information is key.
Great.
Does anybody else have any experience with multiple language press releases?
I wouldn't say I have experience, but a point I think I would make out is that I would be mindful of when there are instances where it's multiple languages. If you know, for example, that there's a specific news outlet that only is, or a group that is only broadcasting in one language, be mindful of that, because likely if they receive the content or the email addressed in not the prominent language, it's very obvious that instance that it's a large blast, and you're going to significantly lower the opportunity for that to be picked up. Because imagine that these media outlets are receiving hundreds of these press releases a week. If it's a story that isn't exceptional, true news, you're going to significantly lower your chances. So just be mindful of that when you are blasting out these media. A little bit of research goes a long way, and you of course don't want to be wasting your time as much as you don't want to be wasting their time. And it helps build a relationship with them as well. So just be mindful of that. But whilst I don't have a specific experience with press releases, I do know that in terms of relationship management, that's something that you definitely want to try and protect, because getting a great relationship in the press world can be super beneficial for broadcasting stories at a later date.
Yeah, so I agree. I totally agree with Angel, and I think I've never done it before. I've never shared a press release with 2 languages, but I also believe that one thing that I can be able to also advise in that area is in the area of the language, the interpretation, translating it from this particular language to another one, and sometimes the communication of the wordings and stuff like that can be different. You just have to ensure that you have someone who is also very conversant of the other language to be able to help you to do the translation for you, so that it can be accurate. Yeah. To avoid sending in wrong message out there. Does that answer the question? Is there anything?
Well, I have a question from my side. I'm wondering how relevant or connected are the media, creating media relations and sending out the press release.
Okay. So you mean the come again? You mean the sorry guys, apologies.
So let's say the connection between networking with journalists and also creating or sending out a press release whenever the organization has the need to do so.
Yeah, I think this connection also makes things work fast for someone, because then you have some journalists that you work with, or media outlets that you have a good relationship with. That makes it easy for you to be able to send in your press release and then be able to. So I don't know for the countries, but like in my own country, because you need that for you to be able to reach out to someone quickly and then have your information out there. So this is something that's already there. So that's why you network and you have contacts of people who maybe the editors here and there, or maybe a journalist in a particular location, and that can be very influential to ensure that your message go out. So this is something that can come in handy if you are able to connect with people in the industry.
I was just going to add on the back of that, Julia. Simon Carter for UK Scouts is maybe if you want to know a little bit more about relationship building. He has great relations with the UK press, and I think that helps him significantly with getting a lot more coverage for Scouts UK because of his network building. Most likely, I think for a lot of the journalists that he speaks with, he has direct emails to those rather than emailing like usually for when you're sending out press releases, you have like blanket email inboxes for sometimes just the paper, whatever media center in general, and then sometimes it's split into departments. But I know because of Simon's like networking that he, for most cases, has direct emails to the specific journalist that reports on those specific things, which is why we see so much of Scouts UK in the press, because he has those networks. So maybe I'd suggest like potentially reaching out to him if you want to tap into some of his wisdom with how he built those relationships. But definitely they are interconnected and definitely needed to be able to reach more high profile for that.
I think Angel tapped into a good point, especially like in the UK, and there are a few of us on this call who are former journalists as well, and so we know from experience how much of our time used to be spent networking with press people. I mean, we used to do this regularly. I mean, I used to get a lot of free lunches this way. And that was all part and parcel, of the role, as we know. And then, like Angel said, you build those contacts, you get direct lines to them. And if you, because it's all about relationship building, and in instances where those relationships are broken down, it can be quite detrimental. Say, for example, if you didn't, Omar said, having contact details, if you don't respond very quickly, that can really put off a journalist and they can kind of ignore you from then on. So, there is, after a press release is sent out, there's that system of follow-up, and, the relationship building is before the release comes out and during the release and then after the release, and that all will be beneficial down the road.
Great contributions.
We have another question in the chat. Who needs to write the press release?
Okay. I believe most companies, or maybe associations, what they try to do is to hire a PR professional. So maybe another option is to hire someone who knows something about public relations, like a person in public relations, and then who can also write and then distribute press releases for you. So these professionals, like Maya, Angel mentioned earlier on, some people already have their connections working in their previous jobs, so that also makes it very easy for them to be able to send out, the press release to some of these networks that they already make. And also, I think, when it comes to the Scout Association, you have a secretary who can be able to do this for you. That also works out perfectly well, or communication person in the NSO, who is very good at it, can be able to handle this job. To my own opinion, I don't think there's a specific role, or maybe a person who should be able to do this. Without that person, no one else can be able to do it. You can be able to have someone else who's also doing another role, but is very good in writing press release. So this, you just have to leverage on professionals that you have who are very good at it. Is there any?
Aaron's just put into the chat, what could someone do if the press, not a single one, haven't picked up the press release?
That's a tricky one. If they don't pick up the press release, maybe probably some, like it is not probably interesting to them. So that's also something. So we need to also look at that when we are writing our press release. We need to provide content that definitely will be eye-catching for the media. So they will be able to pick it up, and then they also, because no one ignores a good content. So this is something that we need to put also in mind. Or probably you send it to the wrong person. That's not the right person that you send it to. So we need to also look into all those things. If you have all those things right, I don't think someone will ignore it, in my opinion. And then okay, we also have our own channels that we can share press releases. You have your website where you can share, you put it in, you have your content, sorry, your social networking sites, put it in, upload it there. Some influential people, people with followers, let them push it out for you. Yeah, it will reach out to so many people.
Maybe I'll just add that it's like, it is your job to make it a story that they want to pick up, right? So when you send them the email, you have all of 2 seconds at the beginning of that email to sell them something that is interesting and usable enough for them. So like, back in Canada, I worked in media relations with the government or politicians there. So first of all, we have to do everything in English and French in Canada, if you don't know that. So we did work in 2 languages, but we would never send it in English and French to the same person because they're only doing reporting in English or French. And then, yeah, you really have to sell them on like the story. So the hook, the same thing that we do in social media, right? We hook people in the first 5 seconds of a video or a post or a caption. In your actual email to them or WhatsApp or whatever you're using to communicate with them, like get to the point really quick. All of the rest is background, as Omar showed you the structure. So use that email headline and the first few sentences also to hook them in.
Thanks, Lynn. So anyone want to share something from your country, how you do your press release? Or maybe we've projected something that you don't do, and then maybe share with us.
Oh, before then, there is one more question in the chat. Is there anything that can be done if a press release is to be distributed at a press conference?
Anything? In a press conference? I've never released a press release in a conference, though.
Maybe it's worth, Shiko, if maybe clarifying, do you mean like releasing it ahead of a press conference, or do you mean like during the event itself?
Yeah, okay. Some do that. They will send out to the media before the conference itself. Some wait after the conference or during the conference, then they will be able to release everything. But in some instances, some press releases they get leaked beforehand, so it gets in the hands of the media and they publish it.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, you mean to include a press kit? Yeah, the media. Yeah, press kits can be given out to the media before the event, so that they know what their release is all about. Does that answer your question, Serif? Yep. Good. Okay. So if we don't have any other contribution, okay, great. Happy to know. If we don't have any other contribution, we can go to the next slide. Okay. So these are things, maybe tips that we need to also consider when we are doing a press release. We should be concise and also clear. So by all means, avoid using jargons. I know some people have kind of like addiction, or maybe they are passion in writing in jargons, but sometimes some people look at it as an unnecessary detail. So we need to, by all means, try to make it so simple that anyone who gets it can be able to get the message clearly. So it can be short, sweet, and to the point. That's very important that we consider. Focus on the news, so we make sure that the press release is newsworthy and then relevant to the audience, just like what we discussed earlier. If you have something that is newsworthy, that is also relevant to the audience, they will definitely pick it up. Use active voice, so this makes the press release more engaging and also direct when you are doing press releases. So you can also ask by at the end of the press release, you'll be able to include a call to action to tell the audience what you want them to do after reading the particular press release. Example, register for the event, or maybe contact you for more information. That for them to be able to register for a national camp, example that we use. So this is something that the last one, which is to edit and proofread. So most of the time, if I am to release anything, or maybe I do a particular document, maybe even a letter, I make sure that I have to proofread it. Sometimes I even slip over it before sending it out to anybody. So with that, I'll be able to make some adjustments here and there, and then make it even look better. That I do. The next slide. Okay, so that takes us to the end of the looking at the key elements, and also some tips that we need to consider. Anyone have a question again?
I was just wondering if we could get some contributions, like you mentioned previously during the Q&A, if there are any differences between the styles of press releases from country to country. I think that's really important, and something that's really good to know when you're developing a press release. Like, say, for example, a lot of the points that you touched on, and that I think as a group we touched on for press releases, about being short and concise, and no more than a page long. When I was working in the UK, like that's definitely the style that you would use. You'd have a quote really high up, you'd have facts and figures, just it's all about drawing people in, and almost like clickbait in a way. And then you compare it to, say, like in Indonesia, where I also used to work in media relations, they really like law numbers, like as in law 15 of 2025 on, well, obviously not 2025, but you know what I mean, like 2015 on such and such law supported by this government ministry. They love that stuff. And I find that stuff is really excessive and unnecessary, but that's ultimately what gets in the newspapers. And they, you know, they like that, and they like really lengthy press releases that go in depth on legal matters. And so if you have a press release, that's what you have to push. So I'm interested to know as well. I mean, that's the complete opposite to the UK. Like, you would never do that in the UK, but in Indonesia, that's pretty standard, like how you would do it. So it's interesting to hear from other examples in other countries, like what would constitute a good press release in your country.
Okay, like in the Gambia, you know, we do similar things. You quote from their law, from the constitution, that mostly when it comes from the government, when the government is making a press release, that's the first thing that they try to do. They have to quote it from the constitution, section this and that, section whatsoever. So, you know, and then they will be able to, then they come to the other parts of their press release and then give everything down. So these are things that happen. So as we said earlier, some people like writing long kind of like content in terms of like content. So what we just have to do is and then make it more eye-catching, at the same time, you know, very interesting for the person who will be getting the content to be able to understand and also be impressive, and then the readers will also find it more fascinating to read.
We still have 7 minutes before we reach our hour. Does anyone have any questions, doubts before we decide to close? Should I take the silence as a no?
So it's either they didn't understand what I presented or they understood everything.
I think you did a great job and everyone understood. That's why there are no questions.
Thank you so much.
Okay, then
So
I'm going to say thank you, Omar, and everyone for coming and joining us another time. And I'm going to wish you a nice rest of the week and see you next month for another edition.
Bye.
yeah, all right.
Goodbye.
Thank you.